Can you imagine?
Well, we were playing a tennis tournament, and Paula was actually working and I was playing. And he was giving out T-shirts, and he asked me, "What size shirt do you want?" And I said, "I want a small." He's like, "There's no way you're a small. You're medium." So from that day on, I didn't like him much because he thought I was fat. And Debbie's wedding was coming up, and Paula needed a date. And so Debbie asked, "Well, Paula, who do you want to invite?" And Paula said, "Well, I want to invite Mariana." And then Debbie approached me. She asked me, "Do you like Paulo?" And I said, "No, he was rude to me." So she went back to him and she told him that I really like him. And it was April Fool's. So that's how we met. And from then on, we were inseparable. We would talk on the phone all night, and we started going out before her wedding, actually 2 weeks before. And so we've been together ever since.
April 2000, I was working at Lake Kane as a tennis instructor, and I was working at a tournament when I saw this beautiful Russian player come to the desk. Now, I had already seen her before, but I just never had really the nerve to talk to her. So I figured, this is a good opportunity for me to talk to her. So she comes in to check into the tournament with me, and usually what I do is I collect her payment and I give out a T-shirt. So she gives me the money, and I ask her, what size T-shirt would she like? And she answers and says, "I'd like a small T-shirt." Now, she didn't know this before, but we ran out of small T-shirts like 40 minutes before she came. So instead of telling her that I'm out of small shirts, you have to take a medium, I tried to convince her to take a medium on her own will. So I told her, "There's no way you're a small," very seriously. And she was very shocked by my answer and not expecting it at all. And she's like, "Excuse me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're a medium." And she's like, "No, I'm a small." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't agree. I think you're a medium." And then I just tossed the medium shirt to her and turned to the other person. And she was kind of in a shock, and she turned to her mother and said something in Russian, which I didn't really understand. And then later, 5 minutes later, I told her, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry, but we're out of small." So it was a very influential first meeting there. And then she went to play, and while I talked to Debbie about her, she's cute, and I also found out that Debbie invited me to her wedding, so I needed a date. So I'm like, well, maybe I could ask this girl. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't think she liked me after that comment. So then I decided to approach her mother, who was watching on the bench. So I really didn't know how to start talking to her, so I brought my sandwich over and offered half of it to her. It's pretty lame. She thought I was crazy and just said, "No thanks." And I just kind of left. And then later that day, I had to sweep the court where she was playing, and I flirted a little bit more with her. And then I finally asked Debbie, "Well, could you find out if she would be interested if I asked?" And she went ahead and told me that she was. And she was lying. She actually never asked her, but she told me she did anyway. So then the next day, I asked her to the wedding, but I really didn't know how to ask her, so I decided to give her one of my research projects that I was working on, some type of survey to fill out. That way I kind of broke the ice. And then she accepted it, and then we started talking over the phone. And the funny part about it was that she asked me, "Well, do you want my number?" And I had already looked up her number, her birthday, in the list from the tournament. So instead of not telling her this, I was so stupid. I was like, "No, I already have your number. I know your birthday's next week. Thanks." And she was really surprised by that. She might have thought I was some type of stalker, but anyway, we started talking, and we haven't stopped since.
He could read my mind, and I thought he had telepathy. Anything I could think of, he would say, or anything I would say, he could think of. So I knew that he was the one, and he wanted a Russian, and I always wanted an Italian, and it just ended up that way. So I knew he was the one.
I knew she was the one. She makes me feel tingly all over anytime she smiles. And she has just this really positive aura about her. Everywhere she goes, it's just really full of life. And even when she's happy, sad, grumpy, or angry, she's still the sweetest person I've ever met. She's one of the smartest women I've ever met. She's from a very cultural family. She's traveled all over. She's she's one of the smartest students in the class, so we could talk about anything. There's never a topic where we just don't have time to talk. So, and she's also just very caring, sweet, athletic. We play every sport together, so we travel to ski, play tennis, and I couldn't ask anything more. She loves my family. My family loves her like their own. It's just the greatest match we could have. We both came to this country. I came from Brazil when I was 10. She came from Russia when she was 10. We both played tennis in the same place. There's just a lot of things that were really, really just fate-like. And I'm not a very religious person, but when I met her, I knew she was the one, right away. She's just perfect match for me, and we've been happy ever since for over 4 years, and we've never had. We've had fights, but the downs with her equal any ups I've had with any other person. So she's truly great, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her and have kids and all that stuff. So I love you, hon.